I was the one with the subscription to Cream Magazine and Trouser Press. The other guys, they weren't, but the other guys actually knew how to play their instruments. So it was a trade-off where I was, turning them on to, some of the new bands, and they were turning me on to how to play music. And also, I was immediately writing songs when I first started playing guitar. I quickly figured out that it was very difficult to learn other people's songs. Much easier to write your own.
Hi, everybody. This is Dennis Black, and you're listening to the Black and Wyatt Records podcast. This week, filmmaker and sculptor Mike McCarthy talks with musician Tim Prudhomme. Tim discusses his various rock and roll bands over the last 30 years and the road that led him to Memphis. And now here's Tim Prudhomme with Ray Davies Was Shot.
Shot, mistaken for Alex Chilton. Ray Davies was shot, mistaken for Alex Chilton. He was down in the street one day. A man walked up to him and said, "Don't you ever play that song again." Ray Davies was shot, but not because he was a chicken, no. Ray Davies was shot way down in New Orleans, where everybody's saying, "Please don't shoot, I'm just playing records by Ray Davies and the Alex Chilton. Playing songs by Ray Davies and the Alex Chilton. Big stars, kicks, and they play tenders. Gotta stop sobbing now, oh.
A planet.
Yes.
Just say what they are, so you never know what I'm going to edit.
Yes. Well, and see, I don't do that because I don't want anything edited. Because I don't want you switching things around to make me say things I would never say. That's why, whenever I watch 60 Minutes, I'm sitting there thinking, edit.
Is that still on, 60 Minutes?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't watched television in years.
Yeah, so I didn't know if you wanted to talk about any of these.
These being?
Any of these records.
I would love to, until Gail has to go to bed and let the dogs out, we could talk about everything. You're in control here, Tim.
No, I'm never.
Did you get something to eat? And
I did. I have a salad from the Rotary Club that they meet at my workplace, and they meet and eat every Wednesday.
I just had my Rotary fixed.
Really?
Yeah. Do you get like a rotisserie at the Rotary, or?
No, they are what do you call that? Catered every week, and I'm the last person in line.
Because
I sit there and wait till everyone goes through the line, and then I bring this big to-go bucket, and I just fill it up and eat off of it for a couple of days.
Times are tough.
No, I'm just smart.
Well, why spend money if you don't have to?
Exactly. For a while, I was doing it because Wednesdays we usually have rehearsal, and so I was also doing it quite often to feed the rest of the band. F.A.K.E, always got them to rehearsal on time because they're like, "Oh yeah, you got some Rotary food today?" Yes.
Cheers. Tim Prudhomme, our guest tonight at the Black and White Records podcast. I feel like this is a real coup, Dennis, getting Tim in here. It took months and months talking to his people. And here he is, and he brought like a suitcase, like he's moving in. So
we're recording now?
Yes, we're recording.
When did you turn that on?
When you rang the doorbell.
Ah!
The doorbell ringing is like for whom the bell tolls.
Mm-hmm.
It tolls for F.A.K.E. But seriously, so you brought records.
Oh, seriously.
CDs.
Okay, sorry.
Because you want to talk about. I'd like to talk to. First of all, who's interviewing who here?
Mike McCarthy is interviewing Timothy Prudhomme.
I'm going to try. Typically, what I would like to do and what I've done with other folks is start with who and where you are right now, artistically. I don't care about your private life. Maybe on the second hour, we'll talk about that. But talk about F.A.K.E. And I know you got the residency at Murphy's, and maybe we'll get this thing edited in a couple of months, and if you're still there, we'll use it as promotion.
No, it's a 1 month thing.
Is it?
Yeah. So I would recommend you edit all that out because then you're just dating.
It's okay.
Your interview.
Every interview I think I've done has been post-mortem on any sort of current events that happened. I like to talk about what you're doing right now in case we have the casual listener who doesn't want to hang around for an hour, and a half to whatever. But what do you want to talk about?
Murphy's every Wednesday for the month of November. So there's only one more show, 7 to 9. It's a free show. Usually we rehearse Wednesdays, 7 to 9 in a rehearsal space. We thought we'd take it out of the rehearsal space and rehearse in front of people.
Right. Do you leave your equipment set up there?
No. Are you crazy?
Yes. Well, I mean, if it's like a rehearsal space.
Yeah, Murphy's is not a rehearsal space.
Why did you pick Murphy's?
We were trying to think of a place that we've not played at, and something that would be perhaps open to Keith, F.A.K.E. Keith, and also knows the bartender Jeremy, who happens to work on Wednesdays at Murphy's.
And this is the kind of dirt you find out on the podcast.
And I recalled whenever he said, what about Murphy's? I remember playing at Murphy's back in the day, whenever that was, and there was the PA on the stage, and I always loved that, where the band does their own sound. So I thought, yes. And we talked to Benny, and he said, I guess y'all could do this, but you'd have to do your own sound. Well, yes, of course, we would insist on that. So, yeah.
Because you'd want it to sound like the record.
Sometimes sound guys try to get creative with a band, and you don't really need that. Well, I guess some bands need that. But.
Well, who's in F.A.K.E.?
F.A.K.E. is Dustin Crops on drums, Andrew Girazzi on bass, and Keith Cooper on guitar.
So how did you get this together? This is you're the band leader.
De facto, yeah. It was around towards the end of the COVID lockdown, and I ran into Dustin, who had just moved back in town, seemingly. I guess he moved back during COVID. And he said, hey, we should play together sometime. I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, I always like to play music. And then I ran into Keith, and he said, hey, you should come over and check out my rehearsal space recording studio, The Bunker. I said, I'd love to. I'd love to go check out spaces. And then he said, we should play together sometime. I said, well, I was talking to Dustin, who you play with And so, yeah, that's how it happened, that natural kind of happening.
I feel like you're auditioning for a late night DJ spot. You're very relaxed and laid back.
I'm auditioning for your job.
Okay? Well, wait. Then what am I going to do? Then I can just stay home and draw.
Yay! You do that very well, and you do these are very good. I listened to a few beforehand, so I knew exactly what I was up against.
Did you now?
Yes.
Which ones?
The Graham and Seth. Very lively duo. Right.
Yeah.
So whenever I heard them, I thought, they have such energy. I do not. This is going to be
no.
So
fine.
It's not going to be quite like this. Let me listen to another one. Frank Bruno.
I was about to go Frank who? But Frank Bruno. Yeah. Frank, did you hear Alicia's? I thought Alicia's was pretty good. Well, they've all been good.
I think she recorded after I first started listening.
Somewhere they're collected on the Black and Wyatt website. Not sure where. I'll throw this out to you. So occasionally I'll make a mini documentary on a band, like with Alicia, did a little thing on her, did something with the Turnstiles. It turned out really well, and we're going to, I guess, put them all together and show them at Studio on the Square. So actually, basically some February income, I guess, Tim.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking about. The winter is coming, and I have not stored my nuts very well.
And so you're getting at what?
I could do a fake mini. I could do a fake mini doc.
What are you doing next Wednesday?
I guess I'm at Murphy's.
No, ding, ding, ding. Yes.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, that's Thanksgiving Eve.
Everybody will be there.
So we kick off the mini doc with a live performance, and then it goes into your personal lives.
Yes.
Okay, which will take another day or two, some other time.
We don't really. We're really married to our music. We don't really have personal lives.
What if I videotaped all you guys Christmas shopping?
You could try. I don't know how much footage you would get.
Well, it wouldn't really matter. I'm a good editor.
I'm more of the craft.
You make the gift.
Yeah. I'm not much of a consumer. I'm trying to sink the economy as much as I can.
All right. Well, the kids don't know it yet, but I think I'm going to make all their gifts, as well as the girlfriend.
They're lucky. Those kids,
not the way I do it.
There's that.
Well, you gotta wait around and hear like things drop in conversations, and then you play on those buzzwords, and then the gift comes out of that, and it can be a long, drawn out process.
Could be.
So you guys recorded an album already, and I would presume that you play this album maybe not in sequence when you play live.
We haven't, but that's a great idea. I think maybe we will do that next show.
Okay.
I have no problem with. I went on tour with this band in Germany, and they had their set list. There was a stack. They had Xeroxed like 100 set lists because they played the same set every single night, and and then fans would grab them off the stage, so they just went ahead and made 100 before they hit the road.
That sounds like Guitar Wolf.
Well, and I thought that's weird. Like and I was with F.A.K.E, and we were opening for them, and we were writing a new set list every night. And I thought, well, I'd never heard of that you just come up with a set list and play that every night. But then it made perfect sense. You're playing in a different town every night, so nobody, no one's going to hear it twice.
Did they say the same things in the microphone every night?
No, they did not do that. I know that some people do that, but John Hyatt. But
how would you know John Hyatt does it?
Because I had a friend who worked in the music biz, and he wanted to hook up in New York over at some club, Bottom Line maybe, and John Hyatt was playing, and so we watched his show, and then we started catching up with the friend, and then John started his second show, and we were like, oh, it seems like he's starting another show, and we just lost track of time. But yeah, and then he started saying the same exact thing that sounded so off the cuff the first time he said it. And I was like, oh, wow, oh, people do that, I guess. I didn't realize it until that night.
But you're saying you might be spontaneous, you might change the songs for whatever reason.
Well, you know, so we were doing this residency. I've always written a set list before every show I've ever played, or some bandmate has done that, until a few weeks ago. And we got to our first show at Murphy's, and I had not written a set list. It was the day after the election, and I'd kind of thought doing anything. So when we got together, they said, I said, yeah, sorry, don't have a set list. Let's just try to remember what songs we know. And so we just, you know.
But it had to be so relaxed anyway.
Well, and then I also thought, well, this is supposed to be rehearsal, and we don't have a set list at rehearsal. We usually just have a set list for a show, you know.
I mean, playing Murphy's is like, it would almost be like playing your living room or so.
Yes, especially that first night. Not too many people came out Wednesday after the election.
Yeah.
Although it was great because I was pretty uptight Wednesday morning, but then I had to suddenly think, where's my guitar? I need to pack up my stuff. Oh, now I need to get to the club. Now I need to set up. Now I need to play. And so I didn't think about what a horrible day it was.
Right. Is it easy to get distracted by the bullshit of everyday life, or does that make you more prolific as a songwriter?
No, not really. No.
What makes you prolific? Are you prolific?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna. Did I show you the stack I have?
I see. I want to hear all about it. Okay, so you were born in Baton Rouge.
Correct.
And
No.
Okay.
I was born in San Diego, California.
Okay.
Dad was a Navy guy, but I moved away when I was about 15 inches long, something like that, to Key West, Florida.
Oh, shit. So you're a military.
Yeah, but then actually I was in Baton Rouge or thereabouts by the time I was 4 or 5, maybe. I don't know. Oh, one thing in our conversation, I do not do numbers very well.
Why not?
Dates. Do you read Roman numerals?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I started doing right off the bat. The first time I put out a record, dated it with Roman numerals.
Because when society collapses, there'll still be some shred of...
No, because most people, it takes them a minute to figure out what the date is if it's in Roman numerals. And so they cannot just quickly look at it and say, oh, man, this record it's from like 2 years ago. It's old. And they throw it away.
Do you put AD on it?
Not yet.
With rock and roll, you should probably put AD just so people know. So on your tombstone, is it going to be Roman numerals?
I hadn't thought about that, but sure, why not?
Okay. Yeah.
If I forget, maybe you can tell them for me.
I'll show up late at night and just chisel it in. Okay, so
I actually, though, I don't intend to have a tombstone. Probably more of a jar.
But aren't you going to bury the jar?
No. We do. Seems like me and most friends who have died, seems like they just kind of, whoever ends up with the jar kind of puts, a little bit in this little
That is such a responsibility.
Yeah.
To keep the jar, to keep the,
What you just put a jar on a shelf? That takes a lot of work.
Well, maybe I got some pointless plastic object that needs to go there.
Right.
I don't know. Like
Put it in the basement then.
Well, so I just found out, a while back who my biological father was. And of course, he died 2013. And then I found out, okay, finally had a conversation with someone who had his ashes. And then she also told me, this was his sister-in-law, ex-sister-in-law, that whenever a pet died, generally a dog, they would mix the dog's ashes with my dad's father's ashes. Yeah. I don't know much about cremation, but I wasn't expecting that.
I've not heard that one.
Yeah, well,
I like it.
Yeah, you have some pets that you could mix with.
I have one pet. He's the first and will be the last. Yes.
The first and last pet.
Yeah, yes.
I'm kind of with you. I've put up with it too much. The misery. Of the death. Well,
yeah. Well, I've gone ahead and gotten ahead of that. We've already gotten his portrait. It's already up on the wall.
Okay.
I've already written a song about his death. So that's all, taken care of beforehand.
And what pet is this?
His name is Riley.
Okay. Is it a cat?
It's a dog.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes.
Remember, you're supposed to be
Riley
specific.
the dog.
All right.
Riley. We named him Riley. You're probably thinking the life of Riley.
I'm thinking the death of Riley.
I hear you. One thing I'd like to point out is that his name is spelled W-R-Y-L-Y.
Sounds like a radio station of...
We named him Riley.
You don't happen to have that song ready, do you?
No.
Okay. Next time. I didn't know you were going to bring records or CDs, whatever you brought. I didn't even know what we were going to talk about.
Right. Well, and that's why I brought them, because I thought maybe we'd do what do you call that? Pre-production? Since we walked in and this started.
No, we don't. We do pre-production and post.
I thought I would walk in and say, okay, this is what I got for you to, if you want to reference any of this, if you want to look over it to get a notion of my oeuvre. But we didn't. We just go in blind. That's
we'll do
fine.
the pre-production and post.
Blind is fine.
Well, the thing is,
many are.
You can mention any kind of history bands. We could just talk about F.A.K.E all night and play the F.A.K.E record. So we never really know what we want to play until we've done the interview.
That's true. Yes, actually, I guess that would be more profitable for me, as if we just played F.A.K.E stuff, because all the other bands have, been not a profitable venture.
Oh, come on.
So.
F.A.K.E wasn't profitable?
Yeah, well, it was as far as travel. Yes, that was grand.
Help me out here, or help a lot of people out. What were you doing before F.A.K.E?
Right before F.A.K.E was Bunk, before Bunk was Boink, before Boink was Lola Bangkok and the Lola Bangkok and the Low Balls, Lola Bangkok and the Uh-Huhs. What else was there? The Three Angles, Timothy Prudhomme, and the And Band. Before that, actually previous to that, Timothy Prudhomme and the Bandana Band, and then Timothy Prudhomme and a band. Then there was Staff.
Staff, okay.
Maybe Staff came after those three.
Wait, are we still in Memphis, or have we?
We're in Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And that a lot of that was because F.A.K.E was on hiatus. I did a solo record. Timothy Prudhomme with the whole Doug. That was produced with Doug Easley.
There he is.
That's
Smells Like Records.
Yes, yes. So that was put out sort of during a F.A.K.E hiatus.
At the end, recorded live at the Antenna?
No,
okay.
No, it was recorded over at Easley, the old Easley before it burnt down.
On Dedrick?
Right.
How did you meet Steve Shelley?
New York. Before I moved to Memphis, lived in New York off and on for 12 years. And, New York is a very small town. So
You mean as far as Manhattan goes, or?
Lived in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Steve lived in Hoboken, and still does. But
Does he still have Smells Like Records?
I've never asked him why he changed, but he changed the name of it to Vampire Blues.
Okay.
As the name of his label now.
Have you had any releases on that?
No, yes, actually, he put out the last F.A.K.E record, which we had worked on, and then we put it to the side for. This is one of those things, numbers. I don't know if we put it to the side for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. I have no idea.
Okay.
But we set it to the side, and then we got together actually at my house and finished it off and sold it. And Steve put it out. That was the band.
Well, I want to play something that you're referencing because we could just talk and talk and talk and never get to a point where we play a song. So would you want to play something off Timothy Prudhomme with the Hole Dug?
Well, we could. What would we play, though?
Play the hits.
The hits.
What would Shelley want you to play?
I don't know if there's a hit on this one.
This is a CD with a picture of the Antenna Club on the back with playing on stage with Doug.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I came across this photo and I didn't really know that I had it. I did play at the Antenna one night, just one of those things where, hey, why don't we go up there? You have your guitar. I was traveling through town, and I just vaguely, I was drinking a lot, and I just vaguely remembered doing that. Oh, we should play this one song because Steve, last time he came into town, we did a bunch of I asked him, what songs do you want to play? And he said, why don't we play the song of yours? And it's called Sweetheart O' Mine. Sweetheart of mine, is acting as a razor blade. Sweetheart of mine, steady as a stone. Heart of mine, acting like I can't be wrong. Heart of mine, setting out to sea. I am blind. Come what may, won't you be my Lorelei? This heart of mine, lost upon a deep blue sea. Heart of mine, out of my control. Sweetheart of mine, sweetest of the sweetest one. Heart of mine, gentle as the wave, sing me home. Come with me, won't you be my guide at night? this was like so.
This is F.A.K.E, the band, put out on Vampire Blues, which is Shelley's label after Smells Like Records.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Run on down to your record store and get that.
And I can't remember because it's a time element. It's not just numbers. It's my sense of time.
Oh, okay.
So he also put these out, but I can't remember if he put these out before or after. But this was the first F.A.K.E album.
Pretty slow.
Okay. And this was the second F.A.K.E album, which is called, you wouldn't know it by this cover, but it's called Baby Loves a Funny Bunny. So these three are on Vampire Blues.
Every anecdote has a CD or a piece of vinyl attached to it.
Right. So
It
this
might be
one was
easy
on
to forget.
Matador, F.A.K.E Conduct. That was the second one.
Okay.
The first one was this, F.A.K.E Pardon My French.
Is this after you got back from France?
It was before.
I like that cover.
Yes, Ted, the bass player. His name is Ted F.A.K.E.
So who was in F.A.K.E?
It was Ted F.A.K.E, Kyle F.A.K.E, Jeff F.A.K.E, and me, Timmy F.A.K.E.
Okay.
Which was delightful time of my life because it was right when emails were going, and so to write to magazines and to radio stations and to BMI and such, and to sign my name, Timmy F.A.K.E.
Right. Are you talking like the late 90s?
Is that when emails started coming
It seems
along?
like that's when I remember sending emails because it did seemingly speed things up as far as getting projects together.
Yes, it did.
But I still wrote letters, I think, for a long time.
Phone calls became easier somehow. I can't remember why. It seems like the long distance didn't cost as much around then.
Oh, because they started getting worried?
Oh, or maybe it was because I had one of those little things that you could hold up to the payphone where it goes ding. It sounds like money dropping into the... Were you ever familiar with those? Oh, very highly illegal. It was a little black box kind of thing that made the sound of a quarter dropping into the phone. And you just held it up to the receiver of the payphone, and when the operator said, please deposit $2, you'd push the button, ding ding, ding ding, ding ding, ding ding, and then they would connect you. Well, someone gave us, we were on tour, and somebody said, "Oh, Joe, I have one of these." And down in Baton Rouge, I was, by 84, I was ensconced in in what I like to refer to as Louisiana State University. And I lived in one of those punk rock, not a punk rock house, but a punk rock apartment complex.
Yeah.
But all of my neighbors were skinhead punk rockers, and they had that aggressive tendency. And I've always been a bit of a contrarian. So they were all shaving their heads, and I thought, time to grow my hair long. And their music was getting more and more aggressive, and that's when I thought, I really like this tune by the Platters. I think I'm going to learn that instead. I know
what you mean about contrarianism. I would even take it a step further and be absurd. And of course, a lot of people just think you're weird, and it's like you want to be thought of as being weird, but you also want to be thought of as being relevant and weird,
Really?
But absurdism sometimes can just miss the mark completely.
Oh, yeah. No, tell me about it.
But when I went home to Mississippi with a weird haircut, it didn't really matter if it was long, short, whatever. It was the fact that I had moved away and I was coming back different. But I always lived in the same place forever growing up. And always had that same friend set, although when I went to junior college, those people sort of, unfortunately, fell by the wayside. Did you have the same set of friends from year to year because you're moving San Diego to Florida to Louisiana?
I've always said friends are a dime a dozen. I don't know if you know this, but you can make friends really easily in this world. if you're nice and,
even with skinheads,
treat them with respect and all that stuff. And I've often thought that if like my house burnt down, I could do the thing of, let's see, where do I want to move? I can move anywhere in the world because I have friends in every town that I've ever visited. Mm-hmm. I think I put that down to myself not being an asshole. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of friends who don't talk to each other, mm-hmm. but I talk to all of them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about exactly, but
are you talking about?
And then I have this attitude at the same time of friends being a dime a dozen, but. So.
I'm old, so a lot of my relatives are gone, and many of my high school friends and all that. I mean, I had friends I played in a band with in high school, or we thought we were playing in a band when really we really weren't. But it was laying the seed, I guess, for something. And those guys are gone. So it's like, and we're not even that old, It's just circumstances. And we didn't. We might have made a cassette recording on a Sertron or something like that. That's the memory.
Whereas I have a couple of Sertrons.
Yeah, they last. Mm-hmm. But you pointing to these things, you may not know the years, but this is work done. This is thoughts put down. This is emotions recorded and commentary and so forth. So when did this start? When did you start playing in bands?
I think I was 17.
Where were you?
Baton Rouge. The first time I ever played outside of the house, my brother and I played at a Halloween party in someone's apartment. They were having a party, and one of the guy who lived there, now that I think about it, I think he played because there were microphones set up and such. So he must have played. And but my brother, who is about a year older, he and I did an original song. I played guitar. We both sang, and we did an original as well as Devo's Mongoloid. And after that, the guy whose party it was, he came up afterwards and said, "That was a lot of fun. You want to get together sometime? We could jam." And that was the first time anyone had ever suggested such. And
you, being the contrarian, said, "I don't think so."
No. I said, "Yes, okay." And then he was very much, "Okay, come over, this weekend at 4:00. I'm like, "Okay."
Wait, so
he was probably 22, 23. I might have been 16. I was either 16 or 17. I remember my mom thought it was kind of like, "Oh, this guy's a little older. What's
Did your parents play instruments?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Why did you pick it up?
Oh, actually though, I had an uncle who did play. He played guitar in hard rock cover bands. It was one of those things where he was maybe 10 years younger than my mom, so he was only maybe about 7-8 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And so when I was a teenager, he would turn me on to record. Well, he lived with my grandmother, the whole time I was growing up. And so when I'd go to Grandma's house, I would hang out in his room and listen to his records and stuff. And so he turned us on to me and my brother onto I think it started off with something fun that kids could get into, like Alice Cooper and Kiss.
Yeah.
And then later he kind of graduated us up to Pink Floyd, and then we got heavily into Yes. When I was like 15, I would sit there and listen to Yes songs, side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. But then, one day I went over to his place and he said, "Oh, Timmy, I went and saw these bands. I think you would dig this. They were a lot of fun. It was these two bands. I heard on the radio that there was going to be an all-girl band, and so I had to check that out." And so it was this band, the Runaways. There was this other band that was playing with them called the Ramones. And check this out. And he had bought a record of both. So he bought Rocket to Russia and Queens of Noise. And so he put those on. And I was like, oh, this is really different and fun. And so I went out and bought Rocket to Russia and Queens of Noise. And that pretty much changed my listening habits.
So this is when the records were new.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I really, really, really lucked out the next year. So I was wearing out the Rocket to Russia album, and then Road to Ruin, their next album, was coming out, and I heard on the radio that they were going to be signing their album at the record store, the little mom and pop record store. So I went down there and to get the autographed record, and then and they were just walking around shopping for records, and you just kind of went up to them. Excuse me, could you sign this? I asked Johnny. He's a very, very chatty guy. Mm. And he was, and I asked him, I said, oh, so when are y'all going to play at like the Coliseum kind of thing? We have our own Coliseum in Baton Rouge. And he said, yeah, we're not really big enough for that. But are you coming to the show tonight? I said, well, that's the thing. It's y'all are playing at a bar, and it's, I'm underage. And he said, well, that's too bad. Hold on, let me talk to my road manager. And so he went and talked to his road manager, and he came back and he said, yeah, meet us at the back of the club at 10 o'clock, and we'll see if we can get you in. And so,
wait, how old were you? You were 17 or?
I think I was 16.
16, wow.
Because I couldn't drive. So my dad was good enough to drive me over to this club.
Wow.
He went to there was a bar next to the club, and so he dropped me off in the back. I said, yeah, this is where they told me to meet him, and it was just an empty, nothing back there. And he said, okay, well, I'll just go into this bar and I'll come check on you in a little bit, see. And so, which was very odd of him to do that. But
why was it odd?
I don't know. Well, and I guess I never asked him to bring me to a bar. So I guess
at 16.
So I guess there was nothing to compare it to. So I don't know why I thought it was odd. But yeah, and then after about 10 minutes, the van pulls up and the Ramones bail out, and I'm standing there. Remember me? You said to meet you here, and he goes, oh yeah. Just stand between us, and they went up to the back door and they banged on the back door, and the door opened, and I just walked in, squunched between Johnny and Dee Dee, and then we got in there, and one thing I remember, my glasses, it must have been winter, because as soon as we got in, my glasses fogged up, because I was thinking, oh, I'm about to see backstage of a and hang out with a band, and I go in and I can't see anything because my glasses are fogged up. And then I just feel Johnny pushing me in the back. Okay, just go that way. There's, out to the. And he pushed me through some curtains, and suddenly I was in the bar. But yeah, and after that show, because it was this club, it was about the size of the High Tone or something. And after that, all of the Coliseum shows just totally paled. After being that close,
yes,
and feeling the and hearing it, and also the fact that for them to worry that a kid can get into the show, I had a feeling that Fleetwood Mac would not be quite as worried about whether or not I could get into their shows.
how could kids get into the Ramones when you couldn't see them in an all ages capacity at an arena? I mean, you could see Bay City Rollers and you could see bubblegum stuff. And that, I know that in Dee Dee's mind, that's kind of what he thought they were.
Yes.
But there was some disconnect in management somewhere, or in payola or something, and it couldn't happen.
I don't know. I mean,
you think it happened the way it was supposed to?
I mean, it happened. It happens every day at all the rock clubs around here where the kids can't go in and see a fake show.
Right. I wanted to play Fake this entire show. So, like, coming in from the introduction that Dennis will do, I wanted to play Ray Davies Was Shot so that we could then talk about that, because that's a fascinating concept for a song, which is a double name-dropping, storytelling, extravaganza in 2 minutes or whatever, in 30 seconds. And it kind of goes for some of the other ones too. And this might be a good time, though, since you told a story about the Ramones, to do the Ode to Joey. You want to play that?
Ode to Joey. This is it.
Joey Ramone died. She cried. Joey Ramone died. Joey Ramone. Joey
All right, that was Ode to Joey by F.A.K.E, Tim Prudhomme's current band, Memphis band. Why not Ode to Johnny?
That song I wrote the day that Joey died, and that's just the way it goes. And he was the first to die, and would have been weird that I would just keep writing. Maybe not. Actually, I think I did try to write a dead Johnny song.
Did you feel closer to Johnny?
I should have, because he was the one who got me into the show.
Yeah,
but
out of sheer sentimentality.
And I did run into him soon after I moved to New York City, and I saw him just walking down the street, 3rd Avenue around 9th, and he was on the other side of the street, and I thought, oh, there's Johnny Ramone. And then I thought, I should go thank him. And I ran across the street, and I said, hey, you wouldn't remember me, but some years back, you got me into a show in Baton Rouge. And he goes, oh, yeah, you know many people in New Orleans? I said, yeah, kind of. He said, because I got a lot of friends in New Orleans. I still keep in touch. And then he was just, yabba yabba. That was also a very, what do you call that? Like a diary song. It starts out, Joey Ramone died, she cried, Joey Ramone died. And that was my wife, Lori, who was my girlfriend at the time. Mm-hmm. I was in San Francisco working on a F.A.K.E record, and she called me one day, and she said, Tim, I have some really bad news. And I thought, who did my mom die? My grandma? And she said, Joey Ramone died. And which I thought was really sweet of her, because she knew that I was a huge fan, and she wanted to be the one to let me know and stuff. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I picked up a guitar and I wrote that song. You know, it's only 2 lines, right?
Yeah.
With that melody. And then I thought, okay, let me get on with my day. And then I came back to it many years later.
Okay.
And,
I was going to say 23 years ago you started writing it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I do. And I mean, that one pretty much stayed exactly the same as the day I wrote it. There are other ones that I've written that I've worked on for 20 years, where I've had like, okay, this verse is good, this verse is good, this one though, I'm just gonna have to put this song to the side, and there's a few of those songs on this record.
So you're writing this poetry that ultimately somewhat gets buried in the mix.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm listening to this, and I know you're saying important things, or maybe I can't hear anymore from too many Ted Nugent concerts, but I know you're saying things, but I almost wish I want to see a vinyl of this. Is it called vinyls, or is that your joke?
That we joke.
Well, anyway, it needs a lyric sheet, because I know you're singing about life experience and so forth. Like, as I mentioned earlier, Ray Davies was shot.
Yes.
And we played that earlier in the show. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Ray Davies, he was down in New Orleans, living down there, like Alex Chilton was living down there. Ray was dating a woman whose name is Chicken. I forget her real name, but all of her friends call her Chicken. That's in the song. And there was a guy came up and was stealing her purse, and Ray stepped up and to be the hero and tried to stop the guy, and the guy pulled out a gun and shot him in the leg. But the girl, Chicken, was really good friends with Peggy of the Gories, who at the time lived with Alex Chilton. So whenever I heard about Ray Davies getting shot, and knowing that there was this, the Chicken girl, and she knew Peggy, I just thought, what if the guy thought this was Alex Chilton, and he had a beef with Alex, and so he shot him because Ray Davies was mistaken for Alex Chilton. Now, of course, he wasn't, but you can imagine. You can let your imagination run.
So which came first, the chicken or Peg?
Oh, ouch. That was really good.
Cut to a commercial on that one.
Very quick.
So what's your favorite song on the new record?
You've heard of Sophie's Choice?
Yes.
You know what that meant?
Well, I mean, you'd have to re-explain it maybe.
It's like asking to choose a child to die.
Well, if you had to kill one of these songs.
Okay. Well, my recent favorite, as of a couple of weeks in particular, is Un-American.
I thought you were singing I Am an American, and then, of course, when I looked at the song title, I'm like, oh, it's just the opposite.
Well, it's both. I'm American and I'm un-American.
So let's play that one.
Yes, please.
can drink coffee and go to sleep.
I used to.
I think we're the same age.
Yes,
based
we are.
on certain Ramones clues you've given.
Yes, we are.
You act like you've always known that and you've kept it to yourself.
I knew it. I don't know how I knew it. Maybe because we discussed it one day.
Well,
maybe not.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah,
not.
well, we had some porch conversations.
Yes.
And when you wrote down here at the end, because you hand lettered everything here, and I like this gold Sharpie, by the way. We do weddings. I just thought that was some information you were giving me. I didn't know it was actually a song.
It is a song.
It is a song.
It is a song.
We can do these songs at weddings. So maybe someone will hear these songs on the podcast and they'll get married and they'll invite you over.
I've done that. I've played a wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I wrote it as well. I've played at least 2 weddings. There was one I felt really bad because I wrote a song for the couple, and I just wrote it off the cuff right before the wedding, and I was playing the reception, and played the song. And about 5 or 6 years later, I ran into them. And they said, "Oh, we were wondering if we could get a recording of that song you wrote, that you sang to us, the one you wrote about us." And I had no clue as to how the melody, the lyrics, nothing. I must have scribbled it on a napkin and sang it and then threw the napkin away. But instead I said, "Yeah, I'll get on that." And I never saw them again, so that was good.
So is this song a form of an apology?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, here's a song called We Do Weddings by F.A.K.E. everything you do that has this sort of tongue-in-cheek delivery or sense of humor really comes from a very serious place.
Yes, I have that constant struggle between being sincere and being tongue-in-cheek, but it's not between being either or, but it's more of a being both at the same time is what I strive for.
Oh, you're going for that human being thing.
I don't know about that, but you keep talking about this album. This is 8 or 9 songs, and it all comes to a whopping 22 minutes. An album, according to RIAA, is more like, 35, something like that.
Who cares?
You cannot sell it as an album if it is not that length legally. You cannot advertise it as an album. F.A.K.E had to look it up for our records because we had some short records and we didn't know, is this a album or is this an EP? And
right.
So, but it was something around 30 or 35, something like that. We intend to record another 10 songs or so this month, or in December, hopefully. December, January.
Over 30 minutes.
Over 30 is the RIAA limit, yes. And then 4 of these songs, I should note, are going to come out on a single.
Okay.
In maybe February, possibly. A label out of Austin called F.A.K.E said that they want to do it. But yeah, so they're going to put out a single that has 2 songs on each side, which is what? An EP. 45.
Well, let's play another one.
Another? You want to play another one? Do you want to play another
Must everything be a pun or a...
hopefully.
Well, okay, so we're going to play another one by F.A.K.E, and this will likely be a 4-song single EP on F.A.K.E in February. Even if it isn't, we'll just say it is.
Yes.
Can I get another one, just like the other one? Give me another one. Can I get another one, just like the other one? Give me another one. Can I get another one, just like the other one? I want another one. Can I get another one, just like the other one? I need another one. Can I get another one, just like the other one? How about another one? Can I get another one, just like the other one? I need another one. Can I get another one, just like the other one? We need another one. Can I get another one? I want another one, just like the other one. Another one, 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 another one,
So when your dad was dropping you off at the Ramones show, and he's ex-military, right?
Just barely, yes.
You think he would have just gone right into the bar and listened to the Ramones and had a drink? And
Actually, he did come in while they were playing. I was, watching the show and for about an hour or so, and then he came in and tapped me on the shoulder. Oh, hey, and And he stood there for a little while, and then he said, "So, you ready to go?" It's not quite over yet, but hold on, let me buy a T-shirt.
So you saw all the Runaways, but not all the Ramones.
Well, the Runaways did not play that. That was
Oh.
the Normals from New Orleans opened that. Them and the Shit Dogs from Baton Rouge.
That's a lot of bands to wait through.
But I did see, they had already come out and done the Gabba Gabba Hey song. The Pinhead guy came out,
Right.
So
Zippy.
it was close to the end of the set.
Did your dad, was he in World War II?
No, he was not. He was not in the war.
Not even Korea?
No, he was between wars.
Ah, lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did your mom do?
Let's see. She was a secretary. I think when I was really young, for a short time, she did that. Then she was a housewife for a long time.
Yeah.
And then she was a substitute school teacher when I was in elementary school, just enough to embarrass me. And then she went into real estate, probably about the time I was late in high school. Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise for your parents to see you. In other words, did you have any plans to do anything else, or did your parents want you to do something else? Like I look back on my life and I'm like, where was the career supposed to be? I missed the career thing. The bus to careerdom. I missed it.
Well, I was, I don't know about you, Mike, but I was a straight A student. And I thought maybe I would become a lawyer. Because I really, I figured lawyer, doctor, something that a straight A student would do. But I wasn't really into the medicine thing so much. I preferred Perry Mason to ER. And then whenever I was the summer before I went to university, I came down with some sickness that laid me up in the hospital and laid me up at home in bed for 3 months. And so because of that, I missed my first semester of school, of university. And I was diagnosed with an intestinal problem, ulcerative colitis, it's called. So the doctor at that point, what does this mean? He was telling me, this is a lifelong problem you will have. And who knows, you might, there's a chance that you'll never be able to hold down a regular job. And I was, okay, anything else I should know? Is it going to kill me? Well, no, well, probably not. I said, well, but does it, affect how long I live? And he goes, well, a lot of people who have this, they tend to die around the age of 65, maybe. And so I was 18 at the time, ready to go and rock the world. And then I was but I was not able to really do much. That kind of weighed on me a little bit, I think, as far as, so I'm going to school, but I'm also playing music all through college, playing in bands. So I started playing, again with these older guys when I was still in high school. I had been to university for 3 years, and then I started thinking, I still gotta. So after I graduate, I have to still go into law school for a couple of years and stuff. And who knows, I might not even be able to hold down a job. What's the point doing any of that?
Wow.
And also, I found that I would quickly do all of my schoolwork so that I could get back to playing guitar and writing songs. I majored in creative writing, so I would hurry up and scribble out some poems or short stories or something. Okay, I'm done with that. Now I can get back to writing the songs. And so I realized this is what I really want to do. And even if I try to do something like become a lawyer, who knows if that'll work out. I might end up in, because during that time I would go back and forth between being sick where I couldn't do anything, and then being well and doing stuff.
So this doctor had an existentialist conversation with you. where it really affected you to the degree that maybe even like your parents sitting down with you wouldn't have affected you.
All right. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, and many, many, many years later, I read something that a lot of people, a lot of musicians and artists, a lot of them were sick when they were children. Have you ever heard that?
I've noticed it maybe in rock bios, things I've read, but, but Ringo had tuberculosis at 9, and you would think, wouldn't that just kill you?
Right.
And then you smoke cigarettes after that in the culture, you're going to smoke.
And then what was that like Johnny Rotten, he has the humpback. What was that? Encephalitis or something like that?
I don't know. Dennis, that's a question for you.
But yeah.
Why would you write songs about places in Louisiana?
Just because one writes what one knows quite often, right? I lived outside of this town called Pineville, and right next to Pineville was Kingsville, and next to that was Paradise, Louisiana. And I forget if it was Paradise or Kingsville. There was a hamburger stand. Malt joint where you just drive up and go up to the window, and there's a couple of high school girls working inside this little baked oven kind of thing on the side of the highway. And that image popped up in my head one day, and so I wrote a song about it. Yeah, because that's what you do.
She come from Pineville,
So that was Pineville on the new F.A.K.E. What do we call this? Project in the works?
Let's see. It has about 10 names right now. Vinyl, demo, unicorns. Really?
Quote unquote.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Fortunes. That's the single. Yeah, we don't really have a name.
Is it just sort of like a big loose idea and then suddenly things fall into place and those things happen to be the releases that come out?
One thing I've always, whenever I play music with people, I always make a point of telling them that I want them to bring whatever they want to the song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could tell them, okay, so I want you to play this and I want you to play this, but then I always feel like that's not very much fun. I know when I've been in a situation where someone says, oh yeah, could you just play this and this? And it's like, oh, okay. I guess because I always have ideas for counter melodies and such. And I just think that people like to bring stuff to the table and like to be able to express themselves. Sometimes, at the same time, some people feel that that's too much work. They would rather be told, just just tell me what to play. I don't have time to come up with something.
I'm already
really
in
cool.
4 bands.
Right,
Yeah.
right. In which case, I'm always willing to say, oh, okay, well, how about something like this? But it seems like the people I end up playing with generally do like to, add to songs and to and I also always say, if you got any suggestions, if you think I'm, arrangement wise or anything, and it's not like I always take up the suggestion, but 9 times out of 10 I do. Just because I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool too.
Like a song like, what is this whole title? It runs together. Pain Courtville?
That is how it is spelled. Pain Courtville.
So do you make a demo of that and you let the band hear it, or you actually play it live on an acoustic or something in front of the band and then they just fall into place, or how does that work?
The latter.
Yeah.
Yes, generally. Yeah.
So they have no conception of what they're going to do until you show up at practice.
Yes.
Or in this case, Murphy's. Are you unveiling new things at Murphy's in front of the guys?
No. Well, actually, I did just by myself play a song the other night. We took a break, and then I got up on, it was time for us to start again, and I got on stage before them, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll play a song that they don't know, and I quickly played something. But
right.
But actually, what we've been doing at Murphy's, there are like 4 songs that we went over one day in the rehearsal studio, and then we've been playing them at Murphy's.
But this next date before Thanksgiving is your last residency night.
It's true.
You can't go into December.
We have other things to do.
Christmas shopping.
Right. You were asking about this Pain Courtville. That was the one song that we forgot to play this past Wednesday night.
Because you didn't make a set list.
Right.
Well, we could play it now.
Yes, we could, but I should say one of the reasons I wrote this song was because me and the wife, we had that little place on the bayou for about a year.
Lori Amy.
And we drove, and we knew that the town right next to us was called Pankerville. That's Pankerville. And but then we were driving down the highway one day, and I saw the sign, and it spelled Pain Courtville. And so I thought, yeah, I have to write a song about that.
She takes a pill and heads out to the highway. Hitting 90 all night long. San Antonio, she hopes to see by Friday. Up the road, she will ride most nightly. She takes it low, but she don't take to no pain. Else a shame is like the rain, it'll be gone pretty much by tomorrow. She knows the pain of suck inside and sorrow. On and on she goes, headed for that great unknown tomorrow. And up the road she rides high and mighty. She takes a load, but she no shame. As for blame, it's like the rain, it'll be gone pretty much by tomorrow.
This is just an audition, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the real thing around midnight.
All right.
Why are you still here in Memphis? There's something you're here for, obviously, for your wife, for your work, for your life, for your musician friends. I mean, what keeps you here?
Well, I've traveled around quite a bit, and this is one of the best spots. I mean, you know, maybe if I had a Spanish passport, maybe I would be in Barcelona instead of Memphis. But if I'm in the United States, I quite like Memphis. I've noticed, I've talked to a lot of people about that. The only people who really don't like Memphis are people who were born and raised here who never left here. But most of the people who were born and raised here and then they move away, they tend to come back because then they realize, actually Memphis really had it going on and I just never realized it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Trying to live up to some punk rock aesthetic that you learned or adopted when you were way too young to really know anything. That seems to still work here, like magic to some degree. And that can be sort of defeating in a way. It's good to go other places and see how other people are, obviously.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in a while. I haven't economically been able to do that.
Well, if you can't economically do it with Memphis as a base, then it's going to be really hard to ever do that.
I mean, like you said earlier, knowing people, I don't really go anywhere unless I know someone. Just to make it easy. And then they're going to take you to the best places and to eat and hang out. And I do the same here.
Yeah, I was talking about my friend who was in town the other night, came down from Massachusetts, and I showed him around one evening. Last week, there were a couple of Italians in town that I showed around.
How dare they?
And I did not know them, but they were friends of a friend that I have in Italy from back when I used to tour. And he wrote and said, "Hey, some friends of mine are coming into Memphis to paint a mural. Could you hook them up with a photographer?" I said, yes, of course I could do that. And so, because I called Jamie Harmon and said, hey, these Italians need someone to take pictures of their mural painting. And so, and then, so I went back and forth with them. And now I have a place to stay in Ferrara, Italy.
So, in talking about other places, what other bands were you in that approach success in the most traditional way, I guess we would look at it, which is where you're touring with these bands in Europe and maybe God knows where else? What were those bands, and how did that all come about? And was that like the closest maybe you had to commercial success, if such a thing could even exist, or you wouldn't spit it out of your mouth in disgust?
Well, I guess just the F.A.K.E. was the band that did the most. Did some touring over there with the much smaller staff. Did some recording over there with them. Did one little tour as a hired gun for a $2 guitar.
Okay.
But yeah, that was about all I've done as far as the European touring.
You put out more F.A.K.E. records than anything else.
Yeah, I think there's like 9 of them, eight or 9, something like that.
Are they all consecutive?
What does that mean?
Like 10 years in a row, or like, something like that?
Oh, no. There was probably about 6 or 7 that went bam, bam, bam. Yeah.
So when you were the hired gun, were you then told what to play, or were you still able to do what you wanted?
Well, in that instance, it was kind of a sudden thing where, hey, we're going on tour. Could you come along and play? I was like, could you? That's soon. And I'm not that kind of guitarist. I'm not a very good guitarist. I play the rhythm guitar. And it's very rudimentary rhythm is what I call my playing. But so I did ask them. I said, okay, I'll do it, but you need to show me exactly what you want, because I have no idea. I can't whip out something.
I think you're sort of a hidden treasure or a secret weapon or some such thing, because maybe you're low profile in some ways, but you continue to be creative and you continue to have this output, and you work with all these great people in town. And the stuff you gave me on the CDs, I mean, I could listen to that all the time, because it's happy. It's not anything overbearing. It's like listening to the Kinks, or it's like listening to something that, despite political or religious conversations you want to have, I don't really hear that. And I don't know how that jives with F.A.K.E. or some of the previous incarnations that you've played with.
Oh, F.A.K.E. is very playful. You can tell just by our name.
I was thinking about the Love Clowns, too. I mean, you can't get more playful than that.
Right. There was that band.
Talk a bit. Can you talk a little bit? We might go out on a Love Clowns song, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Who was in Love Clowns?
We'll go out on anything you tell, or whatever you want to play.
Yeah. Love Clowns, that was The Professor, Cow Cow, Bobo, and Timo.
Mr. Bubble had some trouble. Mr. Bubble had some trouble. Mr. Bubble had some trouble when he went pop. Mr. Gooey made an ooey. Mr. Gooey made an ooey. Mr. Gooey made an ooey when he went glop. Mr. Clowny made a brownie. Mr. Brownie out of townie. Mr. Clowny made a brownie? Good.
That was the Love Clowns. Tim, you got a really good rock and roll face. I mean, your whole body says rock and roll, honestly. Your posture,
I didn't know you would be hitting on me.
and now you're wearing glasses. You didn't start the interview wearing glasses, did you?
What do you mean?
You came in with not wearing glasses. Now you got these blue jobs on.
I've been wearing glasses since I was in the 3rd grade. Whenever the teacher had to call my parents to have a talk with them to recommend that they get me glasses because I was always squinting and I couldn't see the chalkboard. And my mom said, well, actually, he got glasses a few weeks ago.
Bum, bum.
I was hiding them in my book bag. 'Cause I was
Not wanting to be judged by others.
Yes.
So can you give me a quick secret origin of the Love Clowns and Goner Jr.? Because I had completely forgotten about Goner Jr.
Yeah, they started that little boutique label just for that release. The Love Clowns came about because Harlan T. Bobo, he was asked to do a benefit show, and so he was tired of doing just the usual. And he knew that that he and I both shared an affinity for clowns, like the whole Doug CD. There's a photo on the inner part of where I am wearing clown makeup, and I have a clown tattoo, and he likes clowns as well. But so he was saying, what if we do a clown act for this benefit that I have to do? I said, of course, I'm up for that. And so we basically just took songs of ours, his and mine, and did clownish versions of the songs.
Was this a Liberty Land benefit?
No, this was at, what is that, St. Mary's?
Oh, okay. Okay.
And we did that. And we also asked Alex Green to sit in on 1 or 2 songs where he came up out on the stage playing trombone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it started with that, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And so we said, well, let's do more of that. Then I moved to New Orleans around then, but Harlan and I kept on with writing songs for the clown act.
But you only had the one album?
Yeah. We only put out 1 record, yeah. Then Doug Easley, he ended up writing a couple of songs, and Alex wrote a couple of songs, and we got together. And then I moved back up here and played 10 shows, and then Harlan moved to France. So I guess that ruined the band. Although I was like, we're clowns. Can't we just get someone to put on the costume in his steed? Alex thought that was a great idea. Doug did not. He was like, no, I'm not playing without Bobo. I'm saying Doug, and I mean Cow and Professor. I really blew it with that.
Was Harlan upset that you would have wanted to kept going without
No,
him?
he didn't care. I mean, he knew that, he was the one who ruined it.
It seems like I saw you guys, Love Clowns, play maybe a rock and romp, or am I just imagining that?
We did a rock and romp that was down at the river,
Yeah.
at the Metal Museum. We played on at the Shell, played at the Children's Museum, played the first show I think was in the basement of the First Congo.
You did the $5 cover thing? At the High Tone?
We played at the High Tone.
Yeah, I was there when that was filmed.
I went and saw Jonathan Richman at the High Tone. He played a few songs, and then he stopped and he said, there's a noise. It's kind of going, and as soon as he said it, I thought, I heard that noise, and everyone else, yeah, what is that noise? And it was the fan in the men's room. And so the bartender said, "Oh, I can turn that off." And so he turned it off. And oh, okay, that's better. And so Jonathan played a song or two, and then he said, "Oh, I don't mean to, complain, but there's this other sound. It's kind of going." And then it was like, I hear that sound. And everybody else was like, yeah, what is that sound? And the bartender said, that's the beer cooler, but I'll turn it off. He unplugged the beer cooler. And but it was amazing that, it's true. That was really a noise that just, you get used to hearing noises. But it's a very noisy world.
Was that like 99?
That sounds like a good guess.
Because Delana and James lived right next to the High Tone, and then he wound up in their living room afterwards, and we had like this little after party with him, just
really
hanging out like he was a Midtown guy, And he kept complaining about the noise. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the new stuff, talk about some of the old stuff. I know you said your memory's lousy, but what was the first band that you were in or that you formed? Did you also record with that band? Did you go out and open for other bands?
The first band that actually got out and played gigs, I guess I was 18, and the other guys were older. One of them was 30, because I know he went to NAMM. That was called What For. The odd thing, though, we were called What For, but by the time we recorded, there were 5 people in the band, so it was really...
So is that something we could play?
Yes, of course, if you can find it. Oh, there it is. You found it. You found it. So this was one of the earliest songs I wrote, but I didn't really fully write it because I came across a newspaper article. I can't remember if it was New York Times or Associated Press. The name of the article was Punk Rock Star Sid Vicious Found Dead. I basically took the newspaper article and edited it into a song. So the first line of the song is the first line of the article. The nude body of punk rock star Sid Vicious was found in a Greenwich Village apartment Friday. But yeah, so I guess I have a history of writing, so this F.A.K.E, we have the Ray Davies was shot, mistaken for Alex Chilton.
Right.
We got Ode to Joey Ramone.
Right.
But the first song I ever recorded of my stuff was Punk Rock Star Sid Vicious Found Dead.
By stabbing her in the stomach. Punk rock stars and bitches found dead. Punk rock stars and bitches found dead. Punk rock stars and bitches found dead. Handles and bitches went to the Greenwich Village apartment, went to run around, work actress Michelle Robinson. For a party to celebrate his release. Others at the party said that Vicious was jovial, happy, and contemplating a bright future. He drank beer most of the evening, but about midnight gave himself an injection of heroin. Punk rock stars, the Vicious found dead. Punk rock stars, the Vicious found dead.
if you're 18, although you would have had to have been 16 when Sid died,
Yes.
this group of ex-Vietnam veteran people, older people, they just let you as a teenager say, hey, I got this song about Sid Vicious. I mean, did some of them go, who's Sid Vicious? Or
No, well, yeah, actually, yeah. I don't know if the drummer knew too much about the whole punk rock scene. I was the one with this subscription to Cream magazine and Trouser Press. The other guys, they weren't, but the other guys actually knew how to play their instruments. So it was a trade-off where I was, turning them on to, some of the new bands, and they were turning me on to how to play music. Mm-hmm. And also, I was immediately writing songs when I first started playing guitar. I quickly figured out that it was very difficult to learn other people's songs. Much easier to write your own.
even with the punk rock ideology?
No, actually, it was easier to learn a Wire song than it was from their first album, I should say, than a song by Yes or something. For me, if I write a lyric, I can remember it. If someone says, "Hey, Tim, could you learn this song?" I'll have to listen to the song 100 times and what was that lyric again? I've heard it 100 times. So
F.A.K.E doesn't do cover songs that much?
Not much. Mm-hmm. We have a couple. And those songs, yeah. I've done them a lot, and I have to have a lyric sheet for them.
Well, that's what amazes me, though, about musicians in general, is the instant recall that requires muscle memory. And
Abe Wyatt, he can listen to a song and then sing the lyrics right back at you. When
you were rambling through the 80s, that was maybe your first band, but that wasn't what your ideal was. You were looking for something that was a bit more ideal to what you wanted to say, and maybe people your own age obviously playing with you.
Well, there was actually that band, there was a problem whereby whenever we started, and it was me and the guitarist, and he was a bit impressed that I was so into writing songs. And he had written a couple, but he hadn't really thought of it as something he could do. But then then he was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I could just write songs." And so he started writing a lot of songs. And we started out as an all original band. Yeah. And but then it was we got someone in the band who was like, we can't really get a gig though. The bars, they don't want all original. We have to learn at least some covers. And at first we were like, okay, we'll learn, a Kinks tune or something.
That's where you always go, is to the Kinks.
Right. But then we started learning things like there was we learned an Iggy tune. That was fine too. But then it became things like, I remember when we learned a Martha and the Muffins tune. That was when I thought, I might need to move along. And it became a thing of, instead of all originals, then it became like 2 or 3 originals and the rest were covers. So the next band, I did eventually drop out of that band and started a new band, and it was all originals.
And you began to open for other bands?
Yes, that band, the first band, the only band we opened for was the Bongos from New Jersey, I think they were. The next band I was in was a band called Bobo, which everybody would say, "What did you say was the name of the band?" And I'd say Bobo, and they'd say, "What?"
What?
Bobbo. Okay. That name came from my father. Whenever my brother and I looked like we were, looked like riffraff, he would say, "You look like a couple of bobos." And I thought it just meant like a child hobo. And so that's why, I suggested that as the name of the band. It was many years later that I learned that really he was saying barbo, you look like a barbo, because there was a trashy family that lived next door when he was a kid, and they were called the Barbos, but they slangified their name to Bobo.
Slangified it.
Yes, yeah. But Bobo, one person who loves your show is Frank Bruno. So this is for Frank Bruno. Bobo opened for the best opening slot we got was Replacements.
Okay.
This was when Let It Be came out.
84.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Although I think just the I Will Dare single, it had just started being played at the college radio station.
I never saw that single.
Well, it was a 12-inch single, I believe. But we opened for them in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Wow.
They were very friendly folk. They did their sound check. We got up to do our sound check. Paul Westerberg was walking by the stage, and he looked at our set list. And he said, "Oh, is that Under My Wheels by Alice Cooper?" And we said, "Yes." He said, "Y'all are doing that?" And we said, "Yeah." He goes, "I love that song. Do you think maybe I could play with y'all on that one?" We said, "Yes." So when we got to that, we said, "Okay, this next one, Under My Wheels." And then so he jumps up and he plays, and that was fun. And then they played, and they did one of their shows where they only played parts of songs, covers, all covers. They only played covers, and after about a half hour, most everybody left the club, except for us and the crowd we brought from Baton Rouge to Lafayette.
You must have inspired him with the Alice Cooper song.
To what?
To play covers.
To play covers, yeah. Well, I think that's what they were doing at the time.
Yeah.
They would get drunk and just play covers, and they knew it pissed people off, and it was funny to them.
Is there a bootleg tape of that out there?
No, there's not even any photos. My brother came with his camera, and right before the show, he heard about a chicken fight, was it cockfight, right down the street, and so he thought, "I'll be right back." And he went, and he was taking pictures at this cockfight, and they went up, and that's illegal to have a cockfight, so they approached him and said, "Give us your camera. We need that film." After the Replacements, it turned out that they were staying at the same hotel as we were that night, and so we found that out when we went back to the hotel, and there they were too, and so they had some peppermint schnapps, and we had beer. But at the end of the night, I was talking to Paul Westerberg, and he was asking, he said, "Yeah, good band, y'all play out much?" I said, "Well, we play a lot in Baton Rouge." He said, "Yeah, really, you really need to get out on the road. That's the only way you get anywhere with music, Do y'all have a van?" I said, "No." He said, "You need to buy a van and get out on the road." I said, "Yeah." So we, not long after that, we bought a van, and we played one show outside of Louisiana before we broke up. And where was that show? At the Antenna. 84, maybe?
That early?
Something like that.
And which band was this?
Bobo.
Can we play something by Bobo on the way out?
Well, there was that Bobo. We played for a couple of years, and then it broke up.
That looks like a very 80s record cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the album. Although that was the Baton Rouge Bobo. Then me and the bass player moved up to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And just thought we'd keep the band going, but then he got hit by a car. He did, and it broke his collarbone, and he was subletting, and he was a bike messenger, so he was out of a job and he couldn't pay his rent, so he said, okay, New York's just spit me out. So he moved back, but then I kept the name and got all new members, including my girlfriend then, Lori Amy. Whenever the bass player moved away, I said, Lori, you got this. You like music. The bass, it's really easy to play. And so she was real good about picking up the bass, and we played for a few years, put out an album.
Is she singing on here?
No, she does not sing. Well, she can sing, but she does not.
And this is the Spitfire release.
That was we made that. We made that name up. The guy who recorded this, the way we were able to record this record, there was this guy at Bear Tracks studio in New York, where a bunch of bands. He was recording. He did some B-52s, early John Spencer Blues Explosion was recorded there. Some other bands, but he saw us play, and he thought we were really good, and he said, I'll be willing to record a full album on spec, meaning he thought we were good enough to get a record deal, and so he was going to record it all, and then we would pay him once that deal was secured, and that he thought he could get a deal for us. He could not.
He could not.
He did not. And so, but I had told him, okay, well, if you can't get a deal, we'll put it out ourselves. So this was I guess that was the first record that came out that I had anything to do with. Can
we play something that has Lori on it?
Let's see. What should we play? Would you want to hear rock or something terribly slow or something harsh, or
how about terribly harsh?
Terribly harsh. How about we do one for the show?
Snake trip into my veins, left the thoughts across
that was Bobo, not to be confused with Bobo.
True.
And what were you saying about Harlan?
I was saying I thought he was giving me the business when I first met him, because I was in a band called Bobo, and he introduced himself as Harlan T. Bobo.
I'm going to try to close out maybe for the third time, because maybe squeeze in one more song as we go out. But listen, tell me what's going to happen. Well, you don't really know what's going to happen, but you're going to put out an album, a fake album that's got so many songs. It could almost be a double album, except the songs are so short, it's really just going to be a single record.
Correct.
Well, Space Case is going to do the 4-song EP, and then you're still going to do another release maybe next year sometime.
I hope so.
And you're going to have those tunes recorded.
I'm positive thinking, power through positive thinking.
Right.
Definitely will happen.
And you're going to allow me to film you guys playing, and then I might even be able to film some of the recording process?
Yes, please.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, you heard it here, folks. Tim, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And you're more than welcome, and we're going to go out with For Lori, right? That's what cut is this? This is from F.A.K.E.'s 1990. What year was this?
I don't know.
1997.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that I kept coming back around to. All right, we're going to play For Lori, and we're going to talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bell